Amazing.
Just a little bit.
We've all been there.
Yeah, just like half a second more.
Hello, and welcome to the 32nd Annual King County Legislative Forum for Developmental Disabilities. Leading tonight's land acknowledgement is Catherine Festa of the Haida Tribe and Chair of the King County Native American Leadership Council.
Senate Law, good evening in Haida. Let us please recognize that the month of November is Native American Awareness Month. With this recognition, I would like to remind you that we are still mourning the children who are being found in unmarked graves behind boarding schools. My mother was taken from her village at 5 years old and put in a boarding school, miles away and a 4-day boat ride away from her mother. My mother survived, and when I asked her, she said, I got 3 meals a day. But she lost her culture and she lost her language. At 82 years old, my mother moved to Ketchikan, where she was able to remember her language and relearn her culture before her death. I am the granddaughter of Elizabeth Collison. I am the daughter of Marina Jones. I am Catherine Festa, Haida Raven from the Double-Fin Killer Whale clan. Most of the lands we sleep on, live on, and work on were, in fact, taken away from the Indigenous people without their consent. This land acknowledgement recognizes that we are on this land, inhabited and protected by Indigenous peoples for tens of thousands of years. And so I'd like us to acknowledge and show respect to the First Peoples, the Indigenous peoples, our elders and ancestors, past, present, and future, on whose land we stand. Today we offer deep gratitude to the Muckleshoot, Snoqualmie, Puyallup, Stillaguamish, Suquamish, Tulalip, and Duwamish tribes, and to the Salish people whose land and waters support us. Let us also commit to learning more about the histories and celebrate their culture and traditions that remain a vital part of our communities. Thank you, and Haida.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm Megan Cramer, and I'm the King County Developmental Disabilities and Early Childhood Supports Division Director. I'm a middle-aged white female with blonde hair just past my collarbone. I have on a gray dress with light white stripes on it tonight. I also come tonight as a parent. I'm the mother of a young adult and teen with developmental disabilities.
I am Holly Wu, and I am the King County Developmental Disabilities and Early Childhood Supports Deputy Division Director. I am a middle-aged Asian female with black hair. Megan and I will be co-emceeing tonight's event. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to King County Executive Dow Constantine, who will be followed by King County Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer Anita Whitfield.
Good evening. For 32 years, individuals, families, and advocates have come to this event to share their powerful personal stories.
Recording in progress.
Join to listen and to learn. This has been an unprecedented 2 years for the world and for us here in King County. We know by the data that the pandemic has had disproportionate impacts on Black, Brown, Indigenous, and other people of color. Groups all too familiar with another scourge, the public health crisis of racism. King County's intentional efforts to become an anti-racist county include the commitment to center the voices of communities, and we are committed to implementing a racially just response to this crisis. The organizers of tonight's forum made a very strong and deliberate effort to do exactly that in planning for this forum and the discussions around legislative priorities. In King County, we are determined that every resident will have the opportunity to share in the recovery from the pandemic. That means a heightened need to voice our commitment to inclusion and to supporting people with developmental disabilities and their families. The services to support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families are gradually returning to pre-COVID numbers. Early supports for infants and toddlers saw a drop in referrals when the pandemic began, but enrollments are beginning to increase. Our School to Work program, one of the best in the nation, is enrolling young people and seeing more job placements this year. And more adults receiving our individual employment services are finding and retaining jobs in the community. Bringing together the voices of the community, including people with disabilities and their families, King County's Developmental Disabilities and Early Childhood Supports Division has developed this year's legislative priorities. First, promote equitable access and connections to culturally relevant services and resources in the community for individuals with disabilities of all ages and their families. Second, increase equitable, safe, and affordable housing options for all, including accessible housing for people with developmental disabilities and their families. Third, improve access to early support for infants and toddlers services. And fourth, invest in employment opportunities to support economic recovery and inclusion that build on the state's investments in special education. We hope you'll be our partners in investing in meaningful change, and I look forward to working with you in the months ahead. We must continue our effort to ensure that all of our children and families have the opportunity to achieve their highest potential, what we call our true north for King County. Thank you again for joining this important discussion, and I am honored to introduce the next speaker, Anita Whitfield, King County's Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Executive. My name is Anita. I am an African-American woman. I am bald. I cut my locks off in protest to the murder of Brother George Floyd. I wear glasses. They are red cat eye. I have big black hoop earrings on and a crystal hanging from my ear that I always wear. Today, I am wearing white, and I have a big circular necklace around my neck. Let me start by saying thank you to the self-advocates, the families, stakeholders, and community members, as well as to the elected officials for being here tonight and for giving me the honor of being here with you. I've been partnering directly with Executive Constantine and his leadership teams in all parts of King County government over the last year or so, and together we've made great strides towards becoming a truly anti-racist, pro-equity organization. We have also made progress in addressing the public health crises, which is racism. While this is so, we all know that there is still much, much more to do to truly reach our true north. A King County that is a welcoming community where every person can thrive, where Black, Indigenous, and all people of color, and in fact, all historically and currently marginalized people can live in power, peace, and prosperity. These three words define the core elements of the beloved King County community that we are working towards every day in all ways. And we can get there. In fact, we must, if any of us are to truly thrive. Within King County government, we have identified 4 simple but necessary actions that we all can take to help reach our goal. We call them the 4 pro-equity actions, and they are 1, fair power; 2, interrupt business as usual; 3, replace it with something better; and 4, get comfortable with discomfort. Tonight, you will witness an example of how these 4 pro-equity actions actually support the transformation which is so necessary to our region. King County used a community-informed approach to develop our 2022 legislative priorities. Our outreach included extensive listening sessions, an expanded multilingual advisory committee, and most importantly, the centering of the voices of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, and our brothers and sisters and others with intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout the entire process. The complexities and the beauty of our diverse communities are highlighted at the intersection of people with disabilities who are also people of color. Because of deeply rooted biases and systemic racism in our society, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color are more adversely affected by their disability than our white brothers and sisters and others. The simple fact is that Black, Indigenous, and people of color with disabilities experience both racism and ableism when seeking education, medical care, jobs, etc. This is called intersectionality, and the disparities it causes are profound. To advance our commitment to equity and racial and social justice, when we act as allies to challenge ableism, we must also incorporate this intersectionality. That is why our work here tonight is so urgent. Together, by practicing the 4 pro-equity actions every day, we will increase the well-being of all King County residents. And why is that? Well, I think that our namesake, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best when he said, all life is interrelated. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, all tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Let this guide our work. And I thank you for joining us here tonight and allowing me to be your servant. Thank you.
Executive Constantine, we're so appreciative that you take the time each year to join us. Thank you, Dow, for your remarks. And to Anita Whitfield, King County's first Officer of Equity and Inclusion, we're proud to have you in this new role at King County. The last 2 years have been unprecedented. We're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel for the pandemic, thanks to vaccination efforts like those by King County. Unfortunately, there is no vaccination for intergenerational racism and oppression. We know that people are struggling in homes and without homes in every part of our community. We also know that many community-based organizations are struggling just to make payroll and keep serving their clients. You, our families, our clients, and our neighbors. That's why tonight it's more important than ever to learn from each other and connect around issues that mean so much to us. We have a lot to share with you. To kick off the program, let's start with some housekeeping and introductions. Some housekeeping notes. We wish more than anything that we were gathered together in person tonight in the ballroom of a hotel. This event has always been a place to gather with new and old friends and a chance to share our hopes and worries and personal stories and hugs with legislators and each other to improve the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the upcoming year. We appreciate your patience and grace tonight as we continue to navigate this virtual world. For our visually challenged community members, we have asked speakers to briefly describe themselves. We're trying a brand new platform this year. It's called Kudo, and it allows for simultaneous interpretation, making this forum accessible to all. There are a few things you should note. In the lower left-hand corner, where there's a number 1 on the screen, please select the language that you would like to hear. English speakers, Please make sure that you select English because one of our presenters will speak in another language. On the lower right-hand corner, where there is a number 2, is a request to speak button. This button is not functional tonight. Instead, you can communicate with King County staff and each other by using the messaging button. That's the number 3 on the screen on the right-hand side. This messaging box is not accessible to our legislators, but we'll make all of your comments available to them after the forum. We have someone monitoring and supporting you in the messaging box. I now invite our elected officials who joined us here tonight to introduce themselves by district.
We'll start with District 1.
Okay. Hi there. I'm Representative Shelly Clova. Very happy to join you tonight. I have silvery gray hair that's chin length. I hope sparkly green eyes, pale complexion. I'm wearing a beige blouse and a black sweater. And the first legislative district is centered around Bothell, but it also includes part of Mount Lake Terrace, part of Kirkland, and all of Briar, and some of the unincorporated South Snohomish County. Happy to be here. This is one of my favorite events of the year. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we'll move to District 5.
Hello, I'm Lisa Callan, and I'm here tonight. I have short brown hair, middle-aged white woman wearing a black jacket and a patterned black and white scarf. And the 5th legislative district starts in Issaquah and goes east to the top of the Snoqualmie Summit. And then north, it goes just shy of Duval and picks up Carnation, Snoqualmie Valley, North Bend, Snoqualmie, the Fall City area, continues further south through Maple Valley, Black Diamond, Ravensdale, and stops just north of Enumclaw. And thank you for having me, and it's a wonderful honor to be here.
Thank you. Let's go to District 11.
Hi, everybody. State Representative Steve Bergquist from the 11th District, which is South Seattle, Tukwila, Renton, and a little bit of Kent. I am a white male with dark hair and glasses. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Let's go to District 30.
Hello, my name is Representative Jamila Taylor out of the 30th District, which is in part of South King County, a little bit of North Pierce County, and that is Federal Way, parts of Auburn, parts of Des Moines, unincorporated King County. I'm sure my senator will finish the list for me. I am a brown-skinned woman with short curly hair, and I'm so excited to be here as I have a twin brother who has developmental disabilities, and so this is like family. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Senator Claire Wilson, and I come to you this evening with a smile on my face. I am a blonde woman, short hair. I have round glasses that are brown, pink, and gray. And I have a brown turtleneck sweater on this evening. And I will finish the list for Representative Taylor and say that we also represent the cities of Algona, Pacific, and Milton. And this is one of my favorite events. Thanks for having me here tonight. Thank you. We'll move on to the 31st District.
I am Senator Phil Fortunato. The 31st District basically is South Auburn, south of Route 18, and goes out to Enumclaw. And then we have the city of Edgewood, and then we go right down 410, which is Sumner, Bonnie Lake, Buckley, Enumclaw. If you go to Crystal Mountain and are on Sunrise and Mount Rainier, you're actually in the 31st Legislative District. When every year I come to this because I grew up with my sister who had cerebral palsy, so I know what it means to grow up in a household where there's a disabled person. In addition to that, and how important it is for those people to have the value of being able to have work and self-worth. But in addition to that, my daughter has 2 disabled children, one with autism and the other with, she had to type it out for me, congenital central hydroventilation syndrome, which is, there's only about 1,200 people in the entire world that have this. So in addition to a little bit of autism. So if he falls asleep, his brain does not tell him to breathe. So he has to have constant monitoring. So again, this is something that is extremely important to make sure that they try to live as normal a life as possible. And I'll just put a slight little dig in. My autistic 5-year-old grandson was denied entry into the train museum because he didn't have a vaccination passport. So that's a little bit of a discrimination there on vaccine mandates for 5-year-old kids going to a train museum. So I hope we can rectify that and address that issue. So thank you.
Let's move on to District 32.
Hello, greetings from the 32nd. My name is John Elder. I'm the legislative assistant for Senator Jesse Solomon. He sends his greetings and apologies for not being able to be here tonight. We cover Edmonds, Linwood, Mount Lake Terrace, Shoreline, and Woodway, and he very much looks forward to hopefully doing this in person next year.
Do we have anyone else from the 32nd district with us tonight? Let's move on to the 33rd district.
Senator Kaiser couldn't make it. She's at a speaking engagement right now, but she may make it later today. And I'm here in her stead. And Jennifer, and I'm so delighted to be here again this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the 34th district.
Sorry, it's Tina.
Oh, that's fine.
I was waiting for Representative Gregerson. I'm Representative Tina Orwell. I have the honor of representing the 33rd District in South King County. I am a middle-aged Caucasian woman with long, lightened hair, wearing my favorite color tonight, which is royal blue. And my background is in human services, and my first job was at Creative Living Services. And so this work is very near and dear to my heart. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to the 34th district. Yeah.
Eileen Cody from the 34th district, which is Vashon, West Seattle, and Burien White Center. And I'm a 6-foot tall Caucasian woman that's best known as a cranky old lady with gray hair and glasses.
Hi, I'm Joe Fitzgibbon. I also represent the 34th district.
Thank you. Let's go on to the 36th district. Okay, let's go on to the 37th district.
Hello, I am Representative Kirsten Harris Talley, she, her pronouns, and I serve the 37th district, which includes Southeast Seattle, Skyway, and Renton. And really wonderful for the second year now to come to this event and hear about all the amazing work happening in King County. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. All right, let's move on to our 41st district.
Good evening. I am Donna Sen, State Representative from the 41st, which is Renton, Newcastle, Mercer Island, parts of Bellevue, Issaquah, Sammamish, and Olive Bowes Arts Village. And I am a middle-aged woman with reddish brown long hair and brown glasses. And I'm wearing a flowered top, and sometimes people get me and Tina Orwell confused. And I chair the Children, Youth, and Families Committee, and it's great to be here.
I don't think that Representative Ty is here. Didn't see her. So I will finish up the 41st. This is Senator Lisa Wellman, and I am delighted to be here once again. I think I've been here every year. Sorry that we're not in person. I am a senior white woman with, I like to think, strawberry blonde hair. It's kind of ish. And it is long hair, but that is what you can't see because it's all up in a bun in the back. So it looks like it's short hair from the front. And I'm wearing navy blue, which on the screen, I think kind of looks black. I think that this is such an important time to be together to reaffirm our commitment to the community. And it's an honor to be a supportive member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go on to our 43rd district.
Thank you very much. I'm Jamie Peterson. I serve in the state Senate and use he, him pronouns. I am a middle-aged white guy with blonde hair, and I'm wearing a festive Norwegian sweater tonight with sort of gray and cream and black in it. This is, I think, my 15th, maybe 16th forum, so delighted to be here with you all. I love the stories that we hear, and it inspires us every year to make policy changes to take care of our community members with developmental disabilities. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily. I use she and they pronouns. I am Representative Nicole Macreys, legislative assistant in the 43rd, and she is really sad to have missed this evening. This is one of her favorite events of the year, and I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to our 45th district.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I think Speaker Chop or Representative Chop is here too.
Yeah, hi, my name is State Representative Frank Chop. I got the wrong link, so I'm a little late to the show here, but I really appreciate being invited and looking forward to hearing from everybody's point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now let's go on to the 45th district.
Good evening, Monica Tingra, State Senator from the 45th Legislative District, which is the King County parts of the city of Woodinville, parts of the city of Redmond, Kirkland, Sammamish, and Duval. I am a middle-aged South Asian woman with long black hair, wearing a pinkish reddish shirt and matching lipstick. And I just want to thank everyone who shares their life story with us. What this forum has really taught me is to make sure that no matter what I do, I center the lives of individuals and center the voices of people with lived experience. And so I take that with me every time I work on legislation. So thank you for that.
Okay, let's move on to our 46th district.
Good evening, I'm Representative Jerry Paulette. I use he, him pronouns. I am a white-haired, white-bearded, cisgender male, 62 years old. And I have deep gratitude for the voices of self-advocates that we are going to hear tonight, and believe very firmly that it is long past time for us to say that whenever elected officials appoint boards or commissions that make decisions about people with developmental disabilities, we should honor nothing about us without us and include at least a third of the people from who are going to be affected by our decisions to be from the community. So I look forward to hearing those voices tonight.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Javier Valdez also from the 46th Legislative District, which includes the cities of Lake Forest Park and Kenmore. I am a Latino male with light brown skin and black hair with a with some grain going on there. So, and I'm wearing a blue polo shirt. So happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Let's move on to our 48th district. Do we have anyone here from our 47th district?
Good evening. My name is Deborah Intanen, State Representative in the 47th District. I'm a Black African-American woman wearing my naturally curly hair and Black colored glasses, gray sweater and gray scarf. The 47th District encompasses Auburn, Covington, and the East Hill of Kent. Thank you for having me tonight.
Good evening, this is Mona Das, Senator from the 47th District as well. It is so wonderful to be here today. I am wearing tortoiseshell glasses, brownish and blackish hair. It's shoulder length. I'm an Indian woman, so I have dark skin, and I'm wearing a mustard yellow sweater. And this is one of my favorite events every year. And I want to thank everyone for sharing so deeply to educate all of us on the issues and the, just everything that you are experiencing. It's so helpful to us to hear from community. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. One more time, anyone from the 48th district? Okay, we're going to move on to our King County Council districts, and we'll start with District 2. Okay, let's move on to District 4, King County Council District 4.
Good evening, I'm Jean Cole Wells, and I represent the 4th Council District, which is the only one within the city borders of Seattle. It's the smallest geographical district, but the most populated. I have about 270,000+ constituents presently. I was in the state Senate representing the 36th legislative district for a long time, 20 years in the Senate, 3 years in the House. I'm obviously a senior. I have short blonde hair, Caucasian, white woman, and I'm wearing a dark teal shirt or jacket. And I think I'm probably the one among us all who's attended the most number of these just based on my longevity. And I look forward to when we are back meeting in person. Thank you for having me tonight.
Me too, Councilmember Colwell. Thank you for being here. Let's move on to King County Council District 6. Okay, let's move on to King County Council District 7. There is a really cute baby on the screen. We love to have kids join us. Okay, let's move on to our Washington Congressional District 7.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sol Abdirrahman, and I'm a staffer for Congresswoman Jayapal's office. We represent Washington District 7, which covers Seattle, Burien, Vashon Island, Lake Forest Park, Edmonds, Shoreline, and Normandy Park. I am a brown-skinned cis female, and I have Black curly hair, and I am so honored to be here tonight. Actually, the last time I attended this event was 2 years ago. I was a staff at Open Doors for Multicultural Families. So I just know how important all these stories are, and I'm just so excited to be here, and thank you all for having us.
Thank you for being here. Is there anyone who we missed or who may have arrived late? Okay, let's go back to our 36th district.
Good evening, everyone. Of course, I'm Representative Noelle Frame. This is Holden, my 15-month-old son, who is with me tonight, and we're going to be on mute most of the time. But I missed the conditions of the introductions, but it sounds like we are describing ourselves as I am a middle-aged, light-skinned, dark-haired woman, cisgender female representative from the 36th district, representing the northwest corner of the city of Seattle. And thank you for having me and Holden here this evening.
Thanks for being here. Anyone else? Go ahead and pop in.
Hi, this is State Rep Lauren Davis from the 32nd Legislative District in North King County and South Snohomish County. I am a young white female wearing a gray sweater and really glad to be here tonight. I had the incredible privilege of growing up in a public school system where I had an integrated classroom in most of my elementary school years and got to grow up and learn with peers who have developmental disabilities who I'm still connected with in adulthood. So glad to be in community with all of you tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here with us tonight.
Tonight, we celebrate our 32nd forum. This year, speakers will address 4 priority areas for King County. You will hear personal stories from several community members and how services have made a difference in their lives. Our division team members will be presenting the legislative priorities.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Monday. I'm a Black woman with auburn hair and wearing my reading glasses. I'm a project manager at King County, and I've had the honor of being an ally with the developmental disabilities community for the past 21 years. King County's first legislative priority is to promote equitable access and connections to culturally relevant services and resources in the community for individuals with disabilities of all ages and their families. We are asking the legislature to do this through the following 4 recommended actions. First, increase language access for funding interpreters and translators to receive specialized training in disability issues. You will hear from Angela about why this is important. Second, fund cultural navigation statewide to support access and engagement with available services. And Winnie will share her story about this. Donna will then talk about our third request, which is invest in a workforce reflective of communities served to more effectively support individuals with disabilities and delays. Emphasize strategies for recruitment, retention, culturally responsive training, and career pathways for Black, African American, Indigenous, and people of color, providers, and leaders. And lastly, Kyle will tell us why we should increase access to recreational, social, and other community supports to promote health, inclusion, and belonging. When developing policy, we are asking legislators to remember the stories that you will hear tonight and to use a racial and social and economic justice approach to eliminate disparities and ensure cultural and language supports are in place to serve King County's diverse populations. All families and individuals should be able to access services that are meaningful in the context of their culture and provided in their home language.
Hola legisladores e invitados de honor. Mi nombre es Ángela Joven.
好啦，咁我係來自呢個
Y soy madre de un joven de 17 años con ADHD. Soy una mujer latina de media edad con cabello castaño, lentes. Los intérpretes y traductores son importantes para mí porque son salvavidas para mi familia, para muchas familias como
They are a safeguard for my family and for me. I'm from Guatemala. The English is not my first language. My son has greater needs than the rest of the kids, and I have huge challenges to be able to participate in his care and education. I trust on the interpreters so that we know and understand what's the best thing for them. When the interpreters make mistakes, families like mine, we pay the price. Sometimes we don't understand what are the decisions made on our behalf. When people feel bad, basically we just go silent. This is specifically true in all schools. During many years, I'm always struggling with my kids' school so as to get documents and to go to the meetings of the AIP in Spanish. And whenever I manage to do this, the interpreters are not professionals. They cannot convey the needs of my family, and I'm the only one that I'm labeled as a difficult person in those sessions and not the professional ones. Interpreters sometimes are interpreters are very important for my family, especially when we talk about the DDA and the insurance companies, therapists, medical staff, and other suppliers. Each mistake that an interpreter makes, it has great consequences for us. We've been struggling to support our kid, and without the language, this fight is desperate. We need to have specialized interpreters that are trained in order to be able to access to the language. That is the difference between suffering and happiness for multicultural communities. We deserve support for our kids, that they have special needs, especially, and also for the rest. We shouldn't have our language as barriers in order to be able to have a full life and meaningful life to our kids. Whenever you are making these decisions, please just remember this story, and that access to language is very important for so many families that they have some disabilities in all our state. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, my name is Wayan Lee. I'm also go by Winnie. I'm from 46th District, and I'm the mother of 10 years old with autism. I'm a middle-aged Asian woman with black hair and glasses. Cultural navigation service are important to me because there are many families like mine who rely on this service to protect their children with special needs. I'm an immigrant from Hong Kong, and I come here in 2001 to study at Seattle College. My older daughter, Emily, was born 10 years later and was diagnosed with autism at age 4. My daughter's condition was not something I planned for. When I come to the United States, in the beginning, our family struggled to understand the system that controls the care that she needs. We are forced to fight with the insurance company and service provider to get our daughter the behavioral therapies that she needs. Most of the time, it felt like no one wanted to help us. This was also true when Emily began school. She was mistreated, bullied, and very unhappy, but we didn't know where to turn or what questions to ask. When we did have questions, we were often ignored and not taken seriously. Fortunately, we were connected with cultural navigation service that work with us in our native language to help us keep our daughter safe at school and push back when we want to change in other areas. We were finally having productive conversation with administrators about the service Emily was receiving. The support was a critical bridge between our family and the primary white English-speaking school and provider. The decisions made within this system affect my child's immediate health and safety, allow parents like myself to access and engage in their child's care and education can literally be the difference between life and death. As your work continues, I urge you to remember my story and ask yourself, do you want to continue to sideline thousands of Washington multicultural families, or do we want to enable them to be included and active in the life of their loved one with disabilities? Thank you for your time.
Good evening, dear legislators. My name is Donna Summers. My legislator district is 46. I'm Asian woman in her 30s. I have a short black hairs, and right now I'm sitting in my daughter's room. I'm a parent of two wonderful, amazing, and smart kids. Both my kids have developmental disability. Johnny is 4. He's gonna be 5 in December. He is autistic. Jacqueline is 6. She will be 7 in December too. She has ADHD, a learning disability. We moved in the States 3 years ago, in July of 2018. And then we see that my son started regressing. He didn't speak. He stopped using all the words which he had. He didn't look at the eyes. He was like in some big, big bubble. It took us 6 visits to the doctor, to PCP. And every time when I was telling about my concern, I heard, just wait and see. I was telling my son is not speaking. And I've heard several times, you know, when people come from overseas, the kids regressed. It's just because it's new culture. It's just because it's new language. It sounded like it's all because you are immigrant. Your child is not speaking. You know how it's difficult to book an appointment and come back and tell to somebody it's something going on with my son. It's something that's I don't understand. Last time when we addressed our concern, we heard something, oh, the boys usually always have delay. Oh, let's wait 6 months more. John was 2. When we finally get referral, and 2 weeks later, we heard we actually need a referral to early intervention specialist. I remember this day in February of 2019, when they did evaluation and they're showing me data, and I see how much my son is delayed in every area. It was not only speech, it was his fine motor skills. It was his cross motor skills. And then I heard this word, you know, he scored pretty high in MCHART. It's initial evaluation and screening for autism. It took another year of long battle before I was able to get a diagnosis. Because I was persistent, because I requested. And when finally I got it, because I participated in study and I just begged you, could you please tell me what's going on with my son? What's going on? And in December 2019, she was telling me, your son is autistic. She was telling me he needs a lot of support. And you know what's happened in 2020 when I got the formal diagnosis. It was a COVID, and school got closed. And I, who was fighting for almost a year, get answering the questions, get a paper with official medical diagnosis. And a child who needed support. Current years told me that one of my strengths that I was a psychologist and I'm PhD. And that requires from me even more obligation. Every time when I think about other parents and think about how long it takes for them to get a diagnosis, to get heard, to be accepted, I think, why? Why it's happened? Thank you so much for listening to me.
Good evening, legislators and honored guests. My name is Callan Matheson, and I lived in North Seattle in the 32nd Legislative District. This evening, I'm speaking to you about social and recreational activities. This is very important to me, as well as others with IDD. There are different types of social and recreational types of activities. One helps the mind, and the other is physical. If you think of it this way, there's the work life and the social and recreational life. A lot of folks would like to have something to do after work if they're working in some form of activity that stimulates their mind or gives them some sort of physical activity. Now, in closing, I would like to say that we all need some sort of social and recreational activities in our lives. So as you can see, this issue is very important to me, as well as others with IDD. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I am Lorena Reyes. I am Hispanic, dark hair, and I am wearing glasses. I am a housing program manager at King County. Thank you, Angela, Winnie, Donna, and Kyle for your stories. King County's second legislative priority for 2022 is increase accessible, equitable, healthy, safe, and affordable housing options, including housing for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, IDD, and their families. A growing number of families with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including those living with aging parents and families with moderate to very low income, are facing a crisis in finding accessible, equitable, healthy, safe, and affordable housing. A wide range of affordable housing options are needed, so individuals with IDD are included in the community and can contribute socially and economically to the communities where they live. We are now going to hear from Kim and her son and daughter-in-law, Tad and Sarah, about their experiences with housing.
Hi, my name is Kim Tolbert, and I live in the 48th Legislative District. I am an African-American senior with tawny brown skin and dark brown short hair. This is what I want to say to all of the distinguished and honorable legislators today. We're not asking for a house on a hill or a lake. Safe, decent, and affordable, that's what we'll take. When it comes to cement, mortar, and bricks that we can't afford because our income is fixed, because we are among the disabled population, we need affordable housing to erase the situation of low-income housing that is few in between. The affordable housing market is strictly so lean. Build condos and apartments that are up to code. No toxic environment in our abode. No vermin coexisting in our space. No maintenance requests that don't take place. Don't stereotype us or give us a label. We struggle to live and put food on our table. We too have high hopes and dreams to achieve, but housing is one of the most basic needs. We will not give up. We will always persist. That even 2 years on a housing wait list is way too long, and we will take a vow to continue to share our stories because we need affordable housing now. Two people that are precious in my life. First of all, I have my son. Come on, son. Tell him your name.
Hi, my name is Tad. Nice to meet you.
Okay, and I have my daughter-in-law. Sam, his wife. All right, and they are both two recipients of low-income housing project-based Section 8. They live off of Social Security and SSI disability. They get a meager $1,200 a month. And they're so happy to have affordable housing because on their fixed income, that would not leave them much left over for the month and for living expenses. And what they like about being in project-based Section 8 is because it's mixed in a community and they're not singled out as being poor or low income. And we think that the affordable units should be held up to the same standards as market rate property. And what they specifically want the legislators to know is that we need affordable housing now. You shouldn't have to be on a wait list for years. And there's a dire need for people with disabilities, especially those on fixed income. And when they're in an environment that's decent, that's safe, and affordable, they can sleep well and they can thrive in their community. And we want to thank all of you for listening to our story.
Thank you to Tad, Sarah, and Kim. Hello, I'm Liz Espinoza Snow. I'm a program manager for early support for infants and toddlers at King County and the parent of a 6-month-old. I am a mid-30s mixed race woman with long brown hair and glasses. The first 3 years of a child's life are a critical period for growth and development. Decades of research show that children's earliest experiences play a critical role in optimal brain development. Family partnerships are at the center of early support for infants and toddlers services. Children's development, including social, emotional, cognitive, communication, and physical skills, is strengthened through individualized education and therapies. Early support services help families address developmental delays and significantly reduce the costs and need for special education and other services as children with disabilities reach school age. The third legislative priority for 2022 is improve families' access to early support for infants and toddlers services by eliminating out-of-pocket costs, including co-pays, co-insurance, and deductibles, while protecting agencies' ability to bill private insurance for these services. Eliminating out-of-pocket costs for early support for infants and toddlers is needed to help families access these critical services. We are now going to hear from Anika about her experiences.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anika Gebertson. I am a young-looking Caucasian woman with blonde hair. My 5-year-old son and 3-year-old daughter both have developmental delays. Holden and Harper need support with speech, occupational, and physical therapies. We live in the 11th district where they now attend public preschool. Holden loves superheroes, vehicles, and books, and Harper loves dresses, silly songs, and swinging. As a parent to 2 kids requiring multiple therapies a week, cost is a huge roadblock to therapy. I work at a small family-owned restaurant that had closures during COVID, and I was on unemployment for over a year. I personally have had to decide which therapies were a priority for my kids and had to go from weekly to every other week for things like physical therapy. Even with good private insurance through my husband's work, those costs quickly accumulated. As a parent, you want to do what's best for your child, but hundreds of dollars a week in co-insurance fees make that hard for parents like us. The services my kids received through early support for infants and toddlers are really setting a foundation that will help them transition to school and support them into adulthood. I'm hopeful these services will lead to long-term positive outcomes for my children, reducing the need for future therapy and helping them succeed in school. The littlest members of our communities need to be supported. Please remember Holden and Harper and our family story and why we need help to be able to afford the supports our children depend on. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Wilson. I'm a white male with brown hair, and I'm a program manager for our School to Work program and Adult Employment Services. Over the last 2 years, we have seen how the global pandemic has impacted education and employment for so many people. This has been especially hard for the developmental disabilities community. King County's 4th legislative priority is invest in employment to support economic recovery and build on state investments in special education. We can do this by increasing the reimbursement rate for employment and day program services. A higher rate is essential for recruiting and retaining employees. Increasing the rate will support provider sustainability and growth, which will help get people with intellectual and developmental disabilities back to work. We also ask that the legislature build on current investments in special education to improve transition outcomes for students. High school transition age is a critical period for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to start working. By implementing the recommendations identified in the State Transition Collaborative's January 2021 report, we can expand important programs like School to Work statewide and improve transition outcomes for students leaving high school. We will now hear from Margaret Lee about what employment supports meant for her son, and we'll hear from Hodan about what transition services mean to her daughter.
Hello, my name is Margaret Lee Thompson. I live in the 48th Legislative District. I am a senior white female with white hair. Thank you for what you have done over the years to help our folks with intellectual or developmental disabilities. That's IDD. Some of you might remember our son Dan, who lived with Down syndrome. He loved these legislative forums. He loved talking about his job to you. He worked at Microsoft for almost 15 years, and for most of that time worked in the mailroom. He became the most accurate and fastest mail sorter. He was a good reader. Microsoft flew their flag at half-mast when he passed away in 2005 due to heart disease. Employment made Dan's life as ordinary as possible. Dan was fortunate to be able to receive employment supports, and these supports made a huge difference in his life. He was part of his community, he loved his job, and he made some money. Many people have not had the same opportunities as Dan, especially members from diverse communities and individuals whose first language is not English. Having employment supports available for all individuals with IDD is very important to me. All means all, and thank you.
Good evening, legislative honored guests. My name is Hodan Mohammed, and I have here tonight with my daughter, Ashwaq. I am a Somali Muslim African descent. I am a mid-30s. Ashwaq, who just turned 18 years old, has multiple disabilities. We are from the 37th district. I'm a parent. We're here tonight to talk about transition services and why it's important to Ashwaq and I. Transition services is important to Ashwaq and I is transitioning from school to adulthood. Ashwaq is able to have something to look forward to until the age of 21, which is bright her day because she's able to learn independent and work well with others and take the advantage of the education opportunity and become productive and be a valued member of the community and thrive. Ashwaq, do you enjoy your program at school? You like it? I like it. With the help of the transition program, Ashwaq will learn how to be part of society, despite her unique difference, gaining job skills, social connection with other peers, increasing independent living goal, and working with a job coach that takes her own individual learning pace into consideration and aiming to work for her. Ashwaq is also learning how to do things for herself, and this program will also help me as a single mom who works away from home to be able to have her in this program where she's learning such skills. It's giving me the extra help that I need. I believe that this program is very important, and we should have start our kids in younger age time in their lives for even better benefit. When you're making your decision, please remember Ashwaq's story and the program that gives her the chance to grow into a more independent adult, as well as giving her a chance to see and believe her abilities and dream alongside with her typical peers, others who looks like her, to learn and be part of this program that will help her in the future. Thank you for having us tonight. Good night.
The last 32 years have shown us that when we focus and collaborate, we do great things together. But as you heard tonight, the work isn't done. We hope you will be our partners in moving our 4 legislative priorities forward. We now invite our elected officials to share their comments. Are there any elected officials who would like to share your comments?
Hi, this is Representative Sen. I am the chair of the Children, Youth, and Families Committee and do a lot of work on ESIT related issues. And every single year I've been in the legislature, I have had a bill that has addressed issues for the developmental disabilities community and has been my incredible honor. I know that we this past year did a major investment in early learning. One of the key things was around ensuring that we had trauma-informed care, that we had some mental health consultation for childcare, and that we were making an effort to have a special needs fund for early learning programs to ensure that they accept youth with kids with disabilities, and that if they needed extra assistance, that they could have some additional funding. I will definitely be keeping Harper and Holden in my thoughts, and so many others. And again, all those bills that I've done in the past have frankly been generated from this kind of forum. And so I just want to thank everybody for your moving and meaningful stories and the work that you do. So and the advocacy that you do. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Representative Sen. Let's go with Senator Wellman.
Thank you so much. And it always is so, it's so strong to be in front of people and to be able, even with this mode that we're using now, but to make eye contact, to see people, to see the people that we make legislation about, and to hear and know the impact of what it is that we do. I was especially moved by the mother talking about how long struggling to get a child when she knew, as I knew, that something wasn't right. And knowing that something wasn't right from the very beginning, trying to get support. And we know that the earlier that we can intervene, the more successful the outcome will be. So my heart just bled for listening to her story, and know that we hear you. And it means so much that we hear those stories and that we can act. Thank you for giving us your time and your grace.
Thank you, Senator Wellman. Let's go with Representative Paulette.
Thank you. And Senator Wellman said it better than me, the appreciation. Thank you very much for those words, Senator Wellman. And thank you all for the self-advocates who spoke once again this year so effectively. As I said earlier, it's time we as elected officials all recognize that self-advocates need to be at the table whenever we are making decisions that affect people who have developmental disabilities or any decision, and that you are able and articulate, and it's vital that we hear you when we're making decisions. Several of my colleagues here have been champions like Senator Wellman, Representative Sen, and many others up here, and I don't want to leave people out, but too many I articulate here, for recognizing that special education funding is basic education, and we have horribly failed for decades to fully fund basic education when it comes to special education. And nothing could be more true than the failure to provide culturally appropriate and support and language interpreters for people who need that to access things that are supposed to be guaranteed for every child in this state and nation. And so I'm sure that we will be working on this, and we need your voices to make it clear with stories like this that nothing has changed when it comes to the failure to have a trained educational interpreter corps. We need those people trained, and we need to invest in the training, and we need to make sure that they are there for our children and you as parents and guardians. All too often, as someone who's been in IEP meetings come out and talk to other parents who literally had their child have to interpret for them.
Thank you, Representative Paulette. Let's go with Representative Corwell.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the comments Representative Paulette made, and I'd like to build on those. I want to first say thank you to all the families that shared your stories, and I'm sorry that the system wasn't responsive and didn't work for you and your children. I've had the privilege of working with many families and open doors around language access. And I think Representative Paulette really hit on it well. We need to make sure that families have access to interpreters and interpreters that are trained around IEP and 504s. They're very challenging to navigate as a parent. I know that, and it's so important. All children, need their parents involved in their education. It's a civil rights issue, and we can do better. So I just want to really recognize all the great work from the community and Open Doors to really give us a path and the recommendations we need in the legislature to really move forward and make progress on this. So thank you for this one tonight.
Thank you, Representative Orwell. Representative Chop.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing me. I really appreciate the opportunity to hear from the stories tonight and also to share ideas on all of this. I also very much appreciate your persistence for some 30 years working on this issue. That's the kind of persistence that we need, and I very much respect that. I, in my own extended family, have 2 members with developmental disabilities. So it's a personal thing to me, as it is for most people here, obviously. My priorities for funding that I could focus in on, I'll be supportive of the broad agenda, but in particular, I have 3 priorities in terms of funding. One is in terms of home care services, which I've been working on for about 30 years. And also, secondly, supported employment programs. I was fortunate to meet recently with the Community Employment Alliance to better understand the need for that increased funding. And thirdly, I'm glad that Tina just spoke, because I've been working with Tina Orwell and Jinder Kwan on a project for housing, affordable housing and services. And so I look forward to continuing to work with Tina there and Ginger. But also, if there's of the folks that are here tonight, if they want to follow up with me about housing projects, I'd love to have further discussions of housing, affordable housing, at various places throughout King County. We have quite a few options, and if you could follow up with me and set up another time to talk about that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Chop. How about Representative Frame?
Thanks so much, Holly. So I just want to say thank you again for having me this year. I never get through these forums without crying, and this was no exception. It's been my great pleasure to work with Margaret Lee, Kyle, and so many of the self-advocates on ending subminimum wage. And I am so grateful to be able to continue to work on issues around employment. I'm very interested in doing what I can to champion the issues around transitions out of high school into work. And so I stand ready to be a partner. Although I'm no longer on the Children, Youth, and Families Committee, I stand ready to help Representative Sen in any way I can. Hearing from the mama and Holden and Harper, as you can imagine, hit me in the heart. Literally the same name as my son, and it just is such a reminder that we are all in this together. These are all of our children, and we need to do everything that we can to support them. And I just want to echo what so many people have already said. We have accomplished things together that have come out of this forum. I mentioned some minimum wage. I see Representative Cody and the healthcare for workers with disabilities and the changes that were made to that very much came out of what we heard in this forum several years ago. So it's such a privilege to partner with you all. And I should also mention I'm now on the Appropriations Committee and really want to be a partner to the developmental disabilities community and advocating for the funding that we need as a priority for me personally in my role in the Appropriations Committee. So I stand ready to partner. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Representative Frame. Representative Sen, you had a few more words.
Thank you, Holly. I'm sorry in my zeal to to thank everybody. I forgot to mention a key piece of legislation that I'm working on that will affect the disability community. I'm working on a piece of legislation that would develop a care worker center of excellence, basically, that would help promote people going into the helping professions, whether it is long-term care, childcare, or helping serving people with disabilities. And so really looking at how do we market helping professions to high school students and to into higher education, apprenticeships, pathways of education, how we can ensure that there is, if people love working in the helping professions and they no longer want to work with kids, how do we seamlessly transition them to working with older people or with people with disabilities? So really helping support that helping profession, making sure that people feel that it is a sector where there is support and services and a path forward, because we really need to make sure people are going into these fields. And so I am looking forward to sharing that with you when I have that draft, and very excited to be working on some of these workforce issues and getting people to see that helping professions is so valuable, is so critical, and can be supported and pay people a living wage. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sen. And Senator Wilson.
I just want to say thanks so much for all the information and the stories tonight, or you never walk away the same when you hear from folks that have lived experience. And so I'm very humbled and appreciative. And obviously, one of the biggest interests to me is anything that is focused around early care education and young children and families. And so in particular, would love to be supportive and help in any way I can, especially around issues related to least restrictive environments and universal designs for learning. So as we think about what I know are challenges in thinking about childcare and supports for families, but also the fact that they're not entitlement, and oftentimes we have families that struggle every day to have their children's needs met when it should be something that is just so easy to think about why you should do it as opposed to why you shouldn't. So just as we think about this and we think about how it is we create empathetic children and adults, it's you start early. And so it just really is very, very important to me. And anything that we can do, I can do to help with that. And then the only other thing I would say is on the spectrum of youth, involved in the Washington State Leadership Board, and Boundless is a program that works with young adults across the state with developmental or intellectual disabilities and provides leadership opportunities, and would love to make sure that individuals that have students in high school know about those programs. So we'll be reaching out about that. So thanks again for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Senator Wilson. Now we'll go to Senator Dingra.
Thank you. I always hesitate to speak at this event because it is an emotional roller coaster for so many of us. And I just want to take a moment to thank the organizers for putting this together. It really is a tremendous event where you get everyone together, and that's huge. And I do want to thank the advocates. It is not easy to continue to tell your story over and over again, and to share the barriers and the hurt and the pain of systems simply not working. So I do want to acknowledge how hard it is, and I want to thank you for doing that. The reason why this event is also emotionally challenging for me is because I'm so proud of the work Washington does in so many areas. And unfortunately, with DD and behavioral health, our state simply does not do enough. And there's just so much we have to do. And a part of me does feel a little defeated every time I come to this event, because this shows me how much more we have to do. But I also feel inspired because all of you continue to show up and share your stories with us so that we can try to improve. So thank you once again for putting this together and for being here.
Thank you, Senator Dengra. Are there any other elected officials who would like to speak?
Yeah, it's Senator Fortunato. I had to step out and come back, so I'm looking forward to reviewing the recorded session of this in case I missed things. But, you know, my sister had cerebral palsy, and but she had a job. And she had self-worth. She would get exercise, she would walk to work. And then she lost her job. She got depressed, she started gaining weight. She went from walking with a shuffle to walking with a walker, a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, and dying of diabetes. And I contribute all of that to her losing her job. And it is extremely important that people with disabilities have that feeling of earning their own money and have that feeling of self-worth, because without that leads to this cascade of other problems. One of the things that I like to try to focus on is the transportation section of some of the things that affect people with disabilities. For 15 years, I brought a woman with disabilities communion every Sunday. The last 5 years, the DCHS wouldn't let her aide take her to church, even though the aide was of the same faith. So for 5 years, I had to drive to her house, get in the access van, ride with her to the access van, bring her to church, bring her home on the access van, and take her off. And you know, so when she went to travel across county lines, and I've heard other stories from other people, it's a major project because you have to go from King County Metro to Pierce County Transit if you want to use the access van type of thing. So the family would then have to hire a private shuttle to bring her to family events. So that's a concern. Dovetail that with what my daughter is experiencing, dealing with state agencies and dealing with the number of hours to take care of her child. So here is a child that has to be monitored 24 hours a day. Somebody has to be there. He's constantly hooked up to a monitor that monitors his CO2 level and his oxygen level. If he starts to get drowsy, he stops breathing and he has to be hooked up to a ventilator. Now that means somebody has to be with him 24 hours a day. And my daughter was able to get some nurses through private insurance, but that only covers 4 days, and sometimes not even that. Their DCHS is considering him somebody with sleep apnea. And it's not sleep apnea. There's 1,200 people in the entire world that have this special syndrome. And it's unique. And it has this, it needs to have some mechanism by which you can, and I think we were looking at doing legislation that said if a child has a rare disease, because there's a list of rare diseases, that they are eligible for a certain number of hours or certain, I have to talk to my daughter to see what she needs. But we need legislation to acknowledge these children with rare diseases. When you're talking about somebody who has there's 1,200 people in the entire world that have this. And, we need to be looking at that. So my concern is, again, transportation, to make sure that people with disabilities are able to get the transportation they need. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was on the access van was the woman that I was taking to church was severely disabled and needed the access van, the wheelchair lift, and needed that service. King County Metro one time said, well, she can take the regular bus, and sent her a bus route that she could get on the regular bus. And I went and I walked with a video, and I made a video of what they expected her to do. And I put it on the internet. So when they were discussing whether or not to grant her, continue her access band privileges, I said, well, watch this video and you tell me whether this woman with severe disabilities can do this. Physically, never mind the fact that it's the summer. What's she going to do in the winter? Again, a transportation issue that people with disabilities face, and then dovetailed that with the housing issues that they face. So those are the things that sort of, concern me and that need to be addressed. And so I look forward to anybody in the 31st district that has a disability and they have a problem with a state agency. I'll be glad to go and bang on somebody's desk for them. So just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Fortunato. And this event will be recorded. So for individuals who are not able to attend, we will make that recording available on our website. So thank you all for sharing your comments.
Thank you to the community members who shared their stories. Thank you to the King County Legislative Forum Committee for informing the development of the county's priorities. Huge thanks to the King County Developmental Disabilities and Early Childhood Support staff who have worked tirelessly to prepare for this event. Thank you to our provider community for supporting the individuals and families that we get to serve jointly every day. Interpreters, thank you so much. And last but not least, thanks to our elected officials and all of you. Your commitment to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families makes all the difference. This concludes our program. We look forward to seeing you all next year.